Now back to Super Bowl 58 coverage live from Las Vegas on SiriusXM NFL Radio Channel 88 and the all-new SiriusXM app. Here's Jim Miller and Pat Kirwan.
All right, we're back, moving the chain, SiriusXM NFL Radio, and I'll tell you what, this has become a yearly event because it's always good to welcome in the Kansas City Chiefs legend, Nick Lowery, obviously a five-time NFL Man of the Year, was a tremendous kicker as well, and Chris T. Clem. He's a chief patrol agent of the U.S. Border Patrol in Yuma, Arizona, and so every year they've come down to obviously want to protect our borders. They're great patriots, and you want to hear about this. This is a huge topic in this country, and they're doing great stuff for Massive Blue / Overwatch. So let's welcome in Chris T. Clem and, of course, Nick Lowery to Moving the Chains. Jim Miller, Pat Kirwan, good to see you guys again. We just had a great conversation off the air. And before we get into this, what is for a lot of voters out there and any patriot of American citizens about protecting our border. First, Nick, as always, it's always about the kickers. And here your team made it here to this great game yet again, and you call it every single year.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, it's great to be on with the New England Patriots. Now I have to say the equivalent of the Kansas City Chiefs of the NFL channel. You guys are so awesome. I listen to you whether it's in the afternoon or at night. Just the incredible. You can tell you guys enjoy it, but you teach more about why we should love the best game in America than any other outlet, and I appreciate you guys for that.
Well, thanks, Nick. We appreciate that. Well, so many great years with Pat, and that's why you join us. Yeah,
I love being around Nick and thinking about those days. The perfectionist, bringing in his little goalposts, rolling them in, and then putting them inside the big ones, and not satisfied to get between the two big posts. He wanted to get between those two little ones.
And Pete Carroll, let's face it, he kind of showed. I heard about them on your show. A guy talked about. Well, we talked about the Atlanta. The greatest. Coach of football history, perhaps, and Saban and Belichick. But who's the one that did it in both spheres better than Pete Carroll? And I was so lucky to have him, even just for 1 year.
Yep.
And I wish to God this guy should have been our full-time general manager. And if we'd had Patrick Mahomes back then and a little bit more of an offensive line, who knows?
Yeah, but you know what? You get to go home to the Chiefs, and so
yes.
This is getting to be routine. We spent some time with Andy Reid last night. Never saw him more relaxed.
Yes.
And ready for this thing.
Yep.
I hope he doesn't retire.
No, I'd love to see him a couple more years. And, of course, same thing with Travis Kelce, because look at him, 11 targets, 11 catches last week. But Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes share that positivity that they're always building up the team. They're not being just trying to kiss the you-know-what of the players. They understand responsibility and hard work, but they create this loyalty to the team. And that's why, even though it took longer than ever, we came through and came to our best when it mattered most in the playoffs. I mean, look at how we played the last 3 games.
Well, as we transition, I want to hear about Massive Blue / Overwatch. And Chris, I want to talk to you first because you've been down on that border. You've seen it. It's concerning all of us as citizens in this country, and certainly it's going to be a big topic here in the upcoming presidential election.
Well, it is, and I lived it for 27 and a half years. I've finished about 1 year and 1 month of retirement, and it's still in my DNA because that's what we're doing with Massive Blue. Look, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of misinformation going on. The border is a serious issue. Our border patrol agents are protecting America. We've got to get it right. I believe that we can get it right if we have the right infrastructure and the policies in place, and also some good lawful pathways to help the immigration system itself, which is exactly kind of what we're doing now. I can't wait on government to fix this. So we've joined forces with this company, Massive Blue, and particularly Overwatch. And what that is an AI or a machine learning cyber wall. I spent years working on securing the border in a conventional way, building infrastructure, technology, lights, and having the agents out there. The adversary has evolved, and we've got to evolve with it. So we can't wait. And so what this is a machine learning AI program that goes after the predators and the human traffickers, the transnational and domestic criminal organizations that are targeting our companies, our communities, our country, and most importantly, our children. So, look at it from it went from a conventional wall to a cyber wall, and to me, that is making a difference.
It's interesting because it was a political football before, but I think whether you're blue or you're red, this is the number one topic everybody's talking about.
Right.
It really is.
You know, Jim, 300 people are dying every day from fentanyl. That's more than at the height of the Vietnam War. And how we can't realize we've got to do more right now to protect the communities, keep America safe. And when you say patriots, you know what? Anybody that wants to make this country better is a patriot. If you've been here for 3 days, if you really are there to committed to help this country and contribute, then you're a patriot too. So it's not about saying, oh, it's just the people that were already here. But there have been over 20 suicides of Border Patrol agents. Whoever talks about that. So we're here just to say we want to honor the humanitarian side on both sides of the wall, make sure that we make America a little bit safer with fentanyl and trafficking.
I'm holding up the cell phone because this is a great tool, right? That interconnectedness, but this same tool that we're using to order our lattes or, paying a bill,
to the Super Bowl,
or a Nick Lowery chain, is what's being used by the predators online to extort people. Sextortion's a real thing. Human trafficking is a real thing. And we talk about the border, and it is a crisis. So many of the people that are coming in here don't realize that they are caught up in a trafficking vortex until it's too late. So they're already released into the communities, and then they're paying off that debt. And we're seeing that, and we use our program to create that cyber wall and that scrape to see the activity, the 24/7 operations that are exploiting people in sex trafficking. And we can use blockchain technology to kind of track all this. So we do this to partner with law enforcement, provide that service. We can work with community organizations who, that's a big philanthropic thing, anti-trafficking. And lastly, it's just so important, even companies, because people, these criminal organizations are commodity neutral. They'll steal your trade craft, they'll steal your 401 if they can. We've got to be able to put up that cyber wall, and that's one of the things that I'm very proud of. Continue that law enforcement, intelligence, and public safety drive that was part of me for 27 and a half years. Do that in retirement, try to make America safer.
So my brain always kind of thinks offensively, not defensively, and I think everything you're doing is great. Why can't we just classify the cartels as terrorists and go in there and get them?
Yeah, I think
seriously, let's just go.
Congressman
Navy
Dan Crenshaw
SEALs
did it.
Wipe them out.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some presidential candidates that are fully ready to do that, but at the same time, we've got to be proactive. Whether
No, I get it. We have millions in here now.
Yeah.
Despite the political landscape, we've got to do stuff here because you now have, if it's even 1% of the 10 million plus people that have been in, that's 100,000 people who are not here for the right reasons.
This morning on the news, knew you were coming, and I got the news on. I'm working on some of the stuff for the show, and the guy's talking out in L.A. Fentanyl's 40 cents a pill, 40 cents a shot. So there's no stopping it now at 40 cents, and they're giving them out.
Yeah, it's an epidemic, right? So here, it's such a problem. 300 people a day dying of this. It's coming in. It's being, in raw form, getting shipped from China into the drug labs in Mexico. They're not standard labs, right? So they're being packaged in pills. They're getting smuggled in through the lawful ports of entry, but because of all the other border issues going on, it's a volume issue, and then it's coming in between the ports of entry, and it's getting into the hands of people, and it's being marketed as the next best thing to get somebody high, and it's just killing people.
Well, the next problem is these shoot a hole in this, but all these 5 million people are here. They're not allowed to work. They have no work visas. So they got to live too. So the next thing they're going to do is start selling drugs.
Yeah. Well, that definitely is something that could happen. What you're seeing, and that's what's playing out in Washington right now, is what do we do with those that they let in? But here's the problem: you're creating that backlog for those that are trying to do it the right way, and that's the big quandary that they're in. You got to fix the leak. You got to clean up the mess before you invite more of it in, and that's what it's got to start.
Well, it used to be a leak. Now it's Niagara Falls.
Yeah, you're right.
And you know what? We have a phrase, a tall wall, if you will, a cyber wall, and wide gates. In other words, make it easier and more logical to help people that want to do it legally, because we want you, if you're going to contribute to this country, we want you here.
Look, the nation's based on that.
Yes.
But what's going on now, I feel bad for the ones who did it legally or are still waiting.
Yeah.
What's the incentive to wait?
Exactly.
That's why I think America's kind of getting awake right now, because I live in a northern state in Michigan, and then, the wall's borders out of sight, out of mind.
Fifth busiest state in the country on human trafficking.
That's right. And now I think all the northern states are seeing it because it's catch and release. Hey, they're in the Chicago airport. That's where they're housing them. New York's having problems. And now I think the northern states that where it was out of sight, out of mind, they know it's an issue.
Yeah, no, it's impacting everybody. And I used to say this when I was chief. Every state is a border state. Every town's a border town when you don't have border security. And unfortunately, the country is seeing it. And I guess I would say it's a good thing. It's just unfortunate it's happening this way. It could be fixed. It needs to be fixed. We've got a solution for the problem we're dealing with right now. That's what we're working on.
How can our listeners help?
Well, I say the biggest thing they could do, one, when it comes down to this border security, is you got to rattle the cages of your elected officials, especially your local ones, your city mayors, your border commissioners, your local.
You ever hear the mayor of New York?
Yeah, he's complaining. But he's also at one side complaining, and the other side he's handing out debit cards. So he's creating the push and the pull factor. But what they can do, especially with what Nick and I are working on, is look into, if you are a community leader, if you're affiliated with a police organization or a philanthropic that is supporting anti-trafficking and wants to help people, look at massiveblue.io, put in some information. We'll get back to you, see how we can help you, and see if we can go into business with some of the people that are out there trying to rescue people, save lives, because we do want to help people. But we've got to help ourselves first, and the first thing is protecting our communities and our children.
There is no law enforcement organization that isn't overworked and underpaid, and just go to massiveblue.io, and we'd love to help you. We've got to be proactive, and we're honored to do that, and I'm honored to work with Chief Clem because he's one of the best advocates for this.
I love the passion still here.
Yeah.
I heard it last year. I said, okay, let's see. A year later, you're still roaring.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been out there talking, did a good op-ed about tall fences and wide gates and try to find a way to solve this. But let's use technology to our advantage instead of just the bad guys taking advantage of it.
And let me just say also, you guys help educate about this. You're the best show, really, on radio, period, that helps celebrate the best sport in America. And frankly, this year and the last few years, the best team in America, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, you know
what? Legendary player for the Kansas City Chiefs, Nick Lowery. Hey, and former Border Patrol, Chris Clem. Keep doing what you're doing,
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Brother.
Great Patriots and are great
Chris.
ambassadors for this country.
Thank you.
So let's hit the break right here. We will have the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, on the other side.